Pardon the dust. Puberty is messy. Inside Out 2 is the sequel to, wait for it, sit down, you're not going to believe this, I'm going to blow your mind at the beginning, Inside Out from 2015. I know, what a revolutionary title. Let's just add 2 at the end. Creative! Take that fucking money, Pixar and Disney, and make your goddamn computer-generated movie where you're continuing the story of Riley. Not Ace of Spies, mourn the pity, but Riley, who's now 13 years old and is going through a range of emotions because puberty's hitting, and you know what that means? New emotions. But before that, we find that joy, 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 joy down in my heart, voiced by Amy Poehler today, is trying to keep the best and toss the rest, along with sadness, voiced by, once again, Phyllis Smith, and then you have anger, voiced by Lewis Black, who's tremendous in this, I do want to say, and they have 2 different voices for fear and disgust. So we don't have Mindy voicing disgust, that's probably a good thing, and Tony Hale voices fear. Liza Lapera, not Lyra Valkyria, no, we're not going full-on wrestling here, she voices disgust. And yeah, everything seems to be going good. Obviously, at 13 years old, there's going to be, puberty and stuff like that and whatever hitting. So, okay, it's going to be certainly interesting. Joy is keeping the happy face, as Joy is known to do. But then, other emotions come in suddenly. We have anxiety, voiced by Maya Hawke. Don't say that name slowly. You might laugh at it immaturely like I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're welcome. Also, Envy, Ayo Edebiri, who has had a career goddamn run so far. I mean, I haven't seen The Bear, but I heard she's really good in that. But, I mean, you had Theater Camp, you had Bottoms, one of my favorite movies from last year. She was even in the TMNT Mutant Mayhem movie that I didn't like, but good on her for getting work. And she's so good. She deserves all the roles. Let's give Ayo more roles. She is so goddamn good. I'm so glad that I checked out Bottoms because it's turned me on to the fact that she is really, really good and such a great upcoming actress. Or maybe an actress has already arrived. So, you also have Ennui, or known as Boredom. Adele, I'm not going to try to say her last name. Adele X, who was in Blue's the Warmest Colors. She was the youngest one. So, nevertheless, we also have Embarrassment, Paul Walter Hauser, and Kensington Tallman is voicing Riley. So she has friends, Grace and Bree. They play hockey together. They're going to go to hockey camp. And it turns out that certain things, monkey wrenches as it were, are thrown into the plans because Riley hits puberty and now must deal with these complex emotions. And in fact, anxiety, which is a real bitch to deal with. We all deal with anxiety, some more than others. I deal with massive amounts of anxiety. So this movie really hit hard at some points. But trying to figure out all this stuff, let's just say anxiety takes over, and then the balance must be found between the emotions. So, yes, it's pretty much, a bit of a carbon copy of Inside Out as far as emotions needing to work together and all that. Here's the thing, though. Inside Out, while I did enjoy it, I recently retro-viewed it. You can check it out if you want. I did appreciate it, and I thought it was, pretty good overall. It wasn't in the upper echelon of Pixar offerings. Because mainly I felt that the lack of stakes just basically took away from it. Also, while it did deal with emotions well as far as a young girl and going through these things and keeping memories and figuring out, how to balance the good and the bad and the indifferent. This movie far exceeds the first one. I mean, far exceeds it. I actually was very surprised by how good this was. In fact, good isn't, proper enough. It's great. It is one of the best Pixar offerings in a while. And Disney Pixar, look, I haven't loved every single thing that they've done. I really love Turning Red. I really love Soul. And then there are others that I just don't think that are all that great that have come out in the last number of years. What makes Inside Out 2 stand above the first one and above some of the other movies that they've done in the last 10 or so years is it actually captures the whole teen angst adolescence thing where it doesn't beat you over the head with it, but it presents it where kids can enjoy it, adults can reflect on the fact that, oh yeah, I remember growing up and dealing with emotions where I felt like I wanted to cry and I smelled bad and I was doubting myself and I just wanted to fit in while also being myself. All these things are mixed together to create easily one of the best films of the year. I actually will be very surprised that this isn't on my favorite films of the year list by the end of it, yeah, I pretty much loved this. I actually was very surprised. It actually started to make me cry. Yes, me, with my goddamn black as, death heart, I started to cry. I did. Because, why not? Because the movie actually did what it was set out to do, or what it set out to do in English. It worked. It really worked. The voice acting is great. You actually care about the characters. There's more depth to the emotions. Yes, you could argue that sequels are supposed to do that, but not every sequel does that. And whether it's animated, whether it's horror, whether it's whatever, you can have sequels that just tunnel in on the other one and pretty much just take a goddamn nap and just rest on the goddamn profits. And I can see this movie exceeding the profits of the previous movie because it is better in pretty much every conceivable way. Now, Kelsey Mann has been involved in various Pixar projects like The Good Dinosaur, and one of the writers returned from Inside Out, Meg LaFarge, and then you had Dave Holstein, who did Weeds and The Brink and other stuff. And you can check out the respective IMDb pages for the full listen to their work. But it's great, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's done in like 90 minutes, and I do want to say, as far as a spoiler, and I'll spoil what it is in the section, there is a post-credits scene, so you can stay there for that to get maybe a little bit of a laugh there before you leave the theater, just so you know. But it works. It absolutely works. And just the fact that it handles, how one can deal with anxiety and how anxiety can get overbearing, but also if you learn to control it, and it's hard to control that, and you learn to balance everything, it can be all right, because that's the great thing about being an adult. There are points where Joy starts to doubt herself, Riley's doubting herself, and it works. It actually has some stakes to it. There's actual, great humor in it. Not that the first one didn't have humor. There's a sarcasm part, where they have the sarcasm cliff and everything. It's like, oh, it's like, we're so glad run into you guys. And it's just, instead of the regular emotions, it gets sarcastic as it goes across. And that's actually one of my favorite scenes. But yeah, great stuff. Really, really good stuff. And also the animation pops a whole lot more. Even though there were some good differing styles in the other one, like when they went through parts of Imagination Land, the whole 2D thing, they did a really good job with this. It was like they had more life and energy and enthusiasm. Not that the first one felt soulless, but this really worked. And also the whole thing of like how, the blue jelly, whatever dots came in and deconstructed the whole thing and kind of wrecked the room. So anxiety could come in, all these new emotions. I did really appreciate Adele as Ennui. I really am glad she's getting a lot more work. She was great in the Animal Kingdom, too. There's another French film to check out at some point. Not for kids. Would recommend sitting your kids down to watch that. But, yeah, I mean, and they actually gave sadness some more depth instead of just being, like, sad all the goddamn time. There was more stakes to it. It worked. It really, really worked. But the animation popped. A lot of great stuff. Yeah, one of my favorite films of the year so far. It's going to be a lot to cycle through for the midway point and the end of the year. But yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers. Take your kids to see it. They'll enjoy it. You may even cry. And then they'll wonder what the fuck is wrong with you. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, they catch us up to speed in the beginning. Joy does. And Riley is fading in San Francisco. Obviously still missing her friends back home, but she meets Grace and Bree, and they're going to be friends. They're going to be friends till the end. Doesn't matter. They're 3 friends, but then it turns out after a coach wants them to come to this hockey camp, a bombshell is dropped where Grace and Bree are going to end up going to another school. Now that kind of creates a little bit of tension, even though Riley still loves her friends. She's going through puberty, so she's going through all these emotions. And we peek more inside the heads of these various friends and the parents. And I like that. I like that even though there's just little things actually really work there. And then Riley meets this one really great hockey player named Val, who's a little bit older than her. So there's a lot of high school students there. Val actually seems pretty down to earth, but her reputation precedes her. She's really good. Riley looks up to her, and Riley does everything she can to fit in, including kind of pushing her friends to the side, and she feels bad about that near the end. And there's a point where anxiety really, really takes over. I mean, really takes over. And she has the chance, Riley does, to go with her friends on, like, one team. They're going to just, like, do, friendly competition, but they're going to be split into 2 teams. And she's right in the middle. Like, so she can go this way, she can go that way. Nice little touch right there. Eyes go on the team with Val. And then the emotions get bottled up. The, old emotions. Repressed emotions, Fear says. Tony Hale, I do want to say, does a really good job as Fear. Much better than Bill Hader, even though Bill Hader is very good. And then during this whole, trip where they're bottled up and locked away with these dark secrets, including this dark secret that's kind of looks like Orion in the Dark. Kind of looks like that. Kind of looks like that creature. Funny, Paul Walter Hauser is also, and nevertheless, let's get away from that. There's also this, like, animated, or this, like, fighting game, Cloud Sephiroth-inspired type, fighting game anime character that Disgust thinks is so dreamy. And he has this big sword, but instead of using his sword, he always uses this stupid dodge roll attack where he just does a barrel roll. Or just rolls him in a ball and tries to get his opponents, and it never fucking works. It never fucking works, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely goddamn hilarious. I goddamn love just how hilarious that whole thing is, because what's great about it is, by the way, speaking of emotions, you have something that brings out the best emotions in me. You have not a deep, dark secret at all to me. It's my kitty. You bring a lot of emotions out of me. You made me cry because I thought something bad was going to happen to you last year. And thankfully, nothing bad happened to the kitty. He's okay. He's got his claw in my cheek. Ow. But that's a great thing to see when it comes to balancing emotions. You find what works for you. Even the anger, even the sadness. But you can find the happiness. Like finding happiness with a pet. With a beautiful pet. It's going to pretty much probably cut my throat out when I'm done here. But the hockey part, I'm going to watch Inside Out too when you're here, because remember how they had the whole thing, the Hall of Memories and all that stuff? They had all the islands, the Family Island and the Goofy Island, that kind of stuff. Well, now the islands are changing because now there's other stuff. Family Island almost looks like those statues from Never Ending Story. You remember the Never Ending Story. You watched it with me. You weren't alive when the Never Ending Story came out, but you remember that. And basically there's a character from an old preschool cartoon called Bluefy, I believe. That's all goofy and everything. And he's all kind of weirdly animated because he's supposed to be from her repressed memories. And he's like, howdy, kids, all that and everything. And hey, do you know how we could get out of here? He's doing the fourth wall breaks and talking to that and saying, how could we figure this out? And then, you're not going to believe this, sir. This is Sir, by the way. He's my kitty, an adopt, don't shop. I got him about 7 years ago. But then, Pouchy, his, and I'm not even goddamn kidding. He's just, a fanny pack. Fanny pack. You know what a fanny pack is. You've seen it. You saw The Rock with a fanny pack. But Pouchy has all these, items in him. And some of it is dynamite. So they blow themselves out of the whole goddamn thing after Dark Secret that knows a deep, dark secret about all this. Or, has the deepest, darkest secret that Riley has. Yeah, it's really, really terrible. And we find out what that is at the very end. Okay. Goodness me. Move this so you can lay down. So anyway, basically, I just wanted to put the producer on camera because it was funny. But basically, they break out, and then they have to find a way to basically get this kind of tendril thing that has all the happy thoughts that Riley had, how she's a good person. Anxiety, meanwhile, goes in the other direction. Comes up with a whole bunch of orbs to go down into her stream of consciousness and in her thought pattern, in her belief system. And that's basically where the balance has to come. So after numerous setbacks and everything, and seemingly like all hope is lost, where Joy is not sure what to do. Joy even snaps at one point and says, Jiminy mother-loving toaster strudel, I believe was the phrase, which is great. I want that on a goddamn shirt. And that would actually be good. If Disney releases that stuff, I'll actually buy it. But, yes, meanwhile, Riley's playing hockey. She just wants to be good enough. She wants to fit in. She wants to do all these great things. She wants to be as good, if not better than Val. And anxiety is just ramping the stuff up about her. Meanwhile, Sadness gets back to the compound. And embarrassment ends up actually helping her, so to speak. And Sadness is going to find a way to get them back up through the tube once they get that, that happy moment thing. While anxiety is creating their own deal with blackjack and hookers. Hopefully not at 13 years old. But everything's working in anxiety's favor. Hockey game is played. She's scoring these goals. She just needs to get 3 goals to be better than Val. Hopefully this coach accepts her. She saw this notebook that this coach kept, that she snuck into the goddamn office and saw that, Anderson, Riley Anderson isn't ready yet. And that was starting to really affect her. All the anxiety was just ramping up. There was even this point where anxiety was just rolling around like this after everybody had gotten back up to the particular thing, after they used a bunch of dynamite to blow up all these bad memories and then flow on the stream of bad memories, which is actually a pretty creative scene. And then they managed to get back there, and instead of replacing the anxiety, ridden, like, little tendril deal, they end up replacing it with the old one. Then that doesn't work because Riley has all these new emotions, so they have to figure out a way to get together, rip that off, and a new one is created with all these complex emotions mixed in, and it works. Because she ends up, just before this, she's in the penalty box. She accidentally body checked one of her friends that was on the other team. She's feeling bad. She's even almost seeming like she's going to have an anxiety attack. Which are legit things, by the way, and it's terrible, all this. And anxiety just wanted to help, but realized that doing too much. And it worked. It goddamn worked. Got me. Her friends check on her. Everything's good. And she ends up actually getting accepted to the team, possibly, maybe. But everything's balanced. She's still checking on her friends, fitting in with Val. Everything's good. Everything is good. And then we smash cut to the end credits, or the post-credits scene, where basically the dark secret was we burned a hole in the rug. And Joy's like, that's it? Not the time that we pissed ourselves doing this, and then Dark Secret locks themselves back in the whole thing. And it's good. It's good. It's really, really good. I probably skipped over a few things, but I just want you guys to check out Inside Out 2. It's really, really goddamn good. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. A+, by the way. A+. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.